find out what is happening to manners. I wanted to know, are people really becoming less polite? So, I decided to conduct a test to find out.
I see. It seems like it'd be hard to test manners, though. How did you do it?
Page 76. Main ideas. Exercise 1.
Today our guest is Sarah Jones, a reporter who recently did an international study of manners. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, Sarah, why did you decide to study manners?
Well, I wanted to find out what is happening to manners. I wanted to know, are people really becoming less polite? So, I decided to conduct a test to find out.
I see. It seems like it'd be hard to test manners, though. How did you do it?
Well, another reporter and I traveled to large cities in 35 different countries around the world. And in each city, we observed people's language and behavior to see how courteous they were.
Okay. So how did you conduct these tests?
First, we did a door test, and then a document drop, and finally, a customer service test. We did 60 tests in all, 20 of each kind. In the door test, we wanted to see whether or not people would hold the door open for us as we entered or left a building. In the document drop, one of us dropped a file folder full of documents. We wanted to see if people would help us pick them up. And for the customer service test, we wanted to find out if people working in stores were polite. So we noticed if the cashiers were courteous and if they said, "Thank you."
So what did you find out?
Well, the results were really different depending on the city.
Okay, so tell us about the most courteous city.
Okay? In the most courteous city, 90% of the people passed the door test.
Wow! You mean to say 90% of the people held the door open for you?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I guess holding the door for someone is an easy enough thing to do.
Well, true, but sometimes people aren't sure if they should hold the door open. I mean, how long should you hold the door for someone who is behind you, but still far away?
Yeah, that's true.
So almost everyone held the door, but only 55% of the people helped us pick up our papers.
Only 55%. That's not very good. But I can imagine that sometimes you just can't help. I mean, what if your hands are full?
Yes, but one woman had 2 cups of coffee on a tray and her keys and wallet in the other hand. She put everything in one hand and helped. The reporter wanted to help her.
Interesting. Okay, now, what about customer service?
So, in the most polite city, we went to different locations of a popular coffee shop to test the cashiers. And it turns out that 19 out of 20 of them said thank you.
So did they just do it because they're being paid to be polite?
Well, that's true. They are trained to be courteous. But some said they do it because it shows respect.
You know, what I'm curious about is why some people are courteous and some others aren't. Did you ask people why they were polite?
Yeah, actually, we did. Most people who passed the test said they were raised to be courteous. They were taught good manners when they were young. And some people said they just try to treat people the same way they want to be treated. They appreciate it when others take the time to help them when they need it, so they want to do the same. You know, they follow the golden rule.
So what did you learn about the different people in your study? Are some people more likely to help than others?
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. We tested all kinds of people, young, old, men, women, business people, students, police officers, anyone and everyone. And actually, age or career didn't really matter. But we did find that men helped more often than women, especially in the document drop tests. In that test, men offered to help 63% of the time compared to only 47% for women. Also, the men were much more likely to help me compared to the other reporter, who was male. So it seems like men are more likely to help a woman than another man.
Well, I suppose that's not so surprising. Okay, so now we've been waiting. Of the 35 cities you visited, which city won? Which one was the most polite?
Well, you're not going to believe this. It was New York City.
You're kidding! New York certainly isn't known for good manners. I'm so surprised.
We were too, but New York won.
Page 78. Make inferences. Example.
You know, what I'm curious about is why some people are courteous and some others aren't.
Make inferences. Example.
You know, what I'm curious about is why some people are courteous and some others aren't.
Page 78. Make inferences. Excerpt 1.
So almost everyone held the door, but only 55% of the people helped us pick up our papers.
Excerpt 2.
In that test, men offered to help 63% of the time compared to only 47% for women.
9. Vocabulary.
Confusing. Face-to-face. Text. Electronic device. Immediate response.
Listen to. Our listeners respond. Why is...
Call in and tell us what they think. We've just heard about an interesting study of manners. So the question for our listeners is, why do you think there's a lack of manners? Caller 1, you're on.
Hi. Well, I learned how to behave at home from my parents. I think that's where a lot of people learn manners. But nowadays, parents are too busy. Some moms or dads are raising children alone or have 2 jobs and just aren't home much. So there's less family time, and that's where you learn manners from your family at home.
Yeah, good point. Parents don't spend enough time with their kids teaching them good manners. Well, let's see what other callers have to say. Who's next?
Well, I live in a large city, and one thing I notice is there are people living here from all over the world. When I walk down the street, I hear people speaking 3 or 4 different languages.
So it's because we don't all speak the same language? That's why people are rude?
No, not that. Manners are cultural, right?
Right, sure.
And what's polite in one culture might not be polite in another. So, when many people live together, sometimes it's hard to know what's right and wrong. I mean, sometimes I can't tell if someone is being rude or if they just learn to behave differently in their own culture. It gets confusing.
Yeah, that's true. It is confusing when different cultures follow different rules of etiquette. Okay, let's take one more call.
Why are people rude? Electronic devices. I think it's because of cell phones, texting, and the internet.
Well, you certainly have a strong opinion.
Look, everywhere you go, you see people talking on cell phones or texting. They're having a conversation with someone who isn't even there.
Well, maybe, but cell phones and texting are very convenient.
Sure, but people have forgotten how to talk with someone face to face. Also, people expect an immediate response, and they don't see a need to be courteous. They just write short messages. They forget to say things like, "How are you?" and "Thank you."
I don't know. I like getting a fast response. Sometimes it's nice to not have a long conversation.
Look, I have a cell phone, and I use text messages, and I think they're useful, but I think people use them too much. Electronic devices have made us more separate. Now we spend more time on our devices and less time with real people.
Well, we're out of time, but to wrap up, we need more family time, a better understanding of our different cultures, and more face-to-face time. Certainly some things to think about. That's all for now. Until next week.
Listening skill. Example.
Well, we're out of time, but to wrap up, we need more family time, a better understanding of our different cultures, and more face-to-face time. Certainly some things to think about. That's all for now. Until next week.
Page 81. Listening skill. Excerpt 1, Part 1.
And what's polite in one culture might not be polite in another. So, when many people live together, sometimes it's hard to know what's right and wrong. I mean, sometimes I can't tell if someone is being rude or if they just learn to behave differently in their own culture. It gets confusing.
2.
Yeah, that's true. It is confusing when different cultures follow different rules of etiquette.
2, Part 1. Excerpt 2, Part 1.
Hi. Well, I learned how to behave at home from my parents. I think that's where a lot of people learn manners. But nowadays, parents are too busy. Some moms or dads are raising children alone or have 2 jobs and just aren't home much. So there's less family time, and that's where you learn manners from your family at home.
Part 2.
Yeah, good point. Parents don't spend enough time with their kids teaching them good manners.
Page 84. Expand. Exercise 1.
I had a terrible day today.
Really? What happened?
Well, do you remember that girl from my math class that I was telling you about?
Yeah?
Well, I finally got up the courage and asked her to go out with me.
So, what did she say?
That's the problem. I asked her out 2 weeks ago, and she didn't respond at all until yesterday.
Oh no. Why did she leave you hanging for so long?
I don't know, but she finally agreed to go see a movie with me tonight. I was so excited. I was really looking forward to it.
So, what happened?
Well, I waited at the movie theater for almost half an hour. Finally, she texted me to call off our date. She gave me an excuse saying she needed to study for a test.
Oh, that's too bad. It was really rude of her to blow you off like that. I hate to say this, but it sounds like she never wanted to go out with you in the first place. Maybe she was afraid to turn you down because she didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, you're probably right. What a bummer.
Cheer up. She doesn't sound worth it. And hey, what time is the next show? Maybe we could still catch that movie.
Thanks, but I think I'll have to pass. I don't feel like doing anything now. Can I take a rain check?
Sure, no problem. Maybe next weekend.
Okay, let's do that.
Pronunciation. Pages 88 and 89. Pronunciation. Exercise 1.
Do you have the time?
Could you hold the door for me, please?
What time is the movie?
Where do you want to meet?
Not to.
Sorry, I can't.
Page 89. Pronunciation. Exercise 2. 1.
Would you help me?
2.
Is this seat taken?
3.
Can I borrow your book, please?
4.
Are you going to the party on Saturday?
5.
Do you have the time?
6.
How much money do you make?
7.
What happened to your date?
8.
Where did you learn manners?
Page 89. Pronunciation. Exercise 3. 1.
Certainly.
2.
Sorry, but I'm using it.
3.
I'd rather not say.
4.
From my parents.
5.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
6.
It's 4:30.
7.
No, go ahead.
8.
She called it off.